Hello there, this is Oscar Mike here. Welcome back to our Europa Universalis 4 playthrough as the Teutons. We're still at war with Denmark, if you could call it a war at this stage. Pretty much we're just mopping up last enemy forces, hoping to occupy their fortification in Skane. And once we've done that, we'll sue for peace. And the goal of this war was to acquire the territory of Gotland and Bornholm. Nobility loses 10 influence. That is perfectly fine by me. We want to keep influence low as far as I'm aware. Still haven't fully come to terms with all the benefits and downsides to the estate system. However, you can see we've got a lot of benefits from our 60% loyalty with the clergy, giving us some nice boosts. See, you can acquire admirals and generals. That's pretty useful. We'll have to make use of that in the future with high army tradition. And let's see if we can wipe out this final enemy army, occupy this province, and I think the idea is to sue for peace. We're not going to be able to opt for the 100% war score because there are other nations fighting Denmark at the moment and occupying their core provinces. That's another stat wipe. Occupy this province, and the aim is to sue for peace. Gain 100 administrative power. That is extremely powerful. In fact, that might almost be worth foregoing the benefits we get from the estate system by having high loyalty. We'll not use it yet. I'm still a bit, as you'd say, trepid about diving too headlong into the state system when we don't know much about it, but we'll just bide our time and see. Since there are a lot of events that seem to increase and decrease loyalty and influence, I'm a little concerned about dropping our loyalty or influence too low at this stage. Alright, let's see if we can get adequate peace treaty. There's our islands, war goal. Can't humiliate them because they're not our rival. We wouldn't get power projection, so we'll look for war reparations and as much money as possible. Help us to pay off those loans. It'll do. And there we go. Our first war has been won pretty decisively. You'll notice that we've gained money. Our manpower is still relatively high, above 9,000. Didn't gain any power projection, which is a huge downside, but in all, I'd say we prosecuted that war fairly successfully. Hasn't significantly improved the standing of our nation. We haven't materially benefited much from the war. However, we've limited our potential rivals in the Baltic down from 2 to 1. Only Sweden is who we're really concerned about now. And in actual fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Sweden, recognizing Denmark's weakness, declares war on them very shortly and occupies their few remaining provinces. I think they still have a truce with them. Yeah, they do. I can see that. So it's conceivable that the biggest beneficiary of this war may in fact be Sweden. It's something I didn't really think about when I declared the war, but not to worry. Brunswick declared war on Brandenburg. Doctrine of particular judgment. I will opt for papal influence. Probably a waste because we couldn't use that papal influence without a cardinal. Nonetheless, if we do get a cardinal, expect to see me making a bid for the papal controller. So we're losing the money. I don't actually want to mothball my fortifications. I'm conscious of the fact that our fortifications are really our first and in fact only line of defense if Poland declares war on us. want to keep those fortifications well maintained. We mothball them, the garrison size drops. Poland declares war on us and attacks the fortifications. They'll fall much quicker with lower garrisons. So we'll keep them active for the meantime. Certainly, reducing army maintenance, mothballing our fleet, and mothballing our fortifications would leave us in a very perilous position where Poland to attack. So I'm going to keep them well maintained for the meantime. Casting my over to Poland, which is at war with Brunswick, along with Brandenburg, so those two nations are allied. That's going to be a bit of a concern, because Brandenburg is my second preference in terms of where I wish to expand to in the Holy Roman Empire, following, of course, Pomerania. However, things are going well. We've accumulated some extra territory within the Holy Roman Empire. We've got a very strong defensive alliance between Austria and Bohemia. So things are looking good. Only 2 favours with Austria though. That is a concern. 10 favours is what we need to join an offensive war, it seems. However, don't get me wrong, when we do declare war on Poland, I'm not just going to rely upon Austria to do the fighting. I intend to play a large and prominent role in the fighting myself. I'm fairly confident we can defeat the Polish army with superior control and strategy, but we're not there yet. We're still a small, minor nation struggling to survive. Let's lower that army maintenance. Just taking a look at the risk of revolts. That revolt risk is high, but not inordinately so. I usually prefer to increase autonomy only as a last resort, so we'll wait for the coring to complete. And we've improved our relations with Sweden, which is always good. We are allied with Sweden, yep. So I don't know how long we'll be able to maintain that. Actually, given the fact that we've acquired Swedish cores, I believe Sweden has a core on Gotland. Well, if they do, that's going to put us into direct conflict with them in the future. Another thing I didn't think about before declaring war, but we have to expand. And we did. Alright, just taking a little look at our technology. I see we're still very much far behind when compared with our neighbours. But don't worry too much, we have a plan, and it's always all about maximising efficient use of our monarch points. We're going to maximise out our first idea group before we plough too deeply into the technology tree. That's going to save us a lot of monarch points over the long term. Of course, every single idea you have as part of an idea group reduces technology costs for that respective technology tree by 2%. So if you have 7 ideas as part of an idea group unlocked before you research that tech, that is a 14% reduction in the respective technology cost. And we're going to avail that and many other things to ensure that we remain competitive. Just one of the important things you have to master playing this game. Now we do have maximized relation slots. We are allied with Sweden still. I'm not sure how long this alliance will last, however. We'll keep it while we can. The AI, of course, is not at all adverse to terminating alliances. Really nice if we could boost our nobility loyalty by 10%. We'll keep an eye on that. Reduce land maintenance modifier would certainly be useful. so too would reduce development costs, as a matter of fact. Have to keep an eye on that also. Yeah, these decisions do have downsides. I think that the only surefire way to lower influence reliably outside the randomly generated events is modify the amount of your provinces that are associated with that estate. And that could be dangerous because it can compromise your loyalty, so a little wary of playing around with these interactions for the meantime, but as I'm sure I become more accustomed to this, I'll become better at mastering it. This is my first playthrough with Cossacks. It's also my first playthrough with the previous DLC, which was, I think it was Common Sense? Yeah, I believe it was Common Sense, and before that was El Dorado. Just taking a look here. Prove our prestige. Despite winning a war against Denmark, we have 5 prestige. Don't ask me how that works. It seems to acquiring more prestige is a lot harder since the last time I played. 5 prestige is in fact pretty pathetic. Nonetheless, we're making money at least. Another look at Brandenburg. Ally with Austria and Poland. The battering ram of Austria and Poland. Our 2 greatest adversaries. Even though we're allied with Austria. I have no illusions we're going to have to force a showdown with them at some point, but we're a ways away from that in the moment. We could ally Lubeck. In fact, I probably would, were I not allied with Sweden. Don't want to push us over the max diplomatic relation slots. Maybe wondering why I ought not to research this technology, even though I can. It's because the longer you delay researching technology, the greater behind tech modifier you get. So for every, I think it is 5 years you're behind in a specific technology group, you get 5% reduced technology costs for that technology, which is pretty big. Works out at about a 25 Monarch point saving for 5%, and you can get it right up to 10%, 15%. And so, for instance, we're behind 10% in military technology, I believe, which will save us about 50 military Monarch points, which would be sufficient to hire a general if we wanted one. So it does add up. It's all about min-maxing. It's the same with idea groups. That's going to allow us, regardless of whatever area we're sundered with, to keep up with the other European nations in terms of technology. We could ally Riga, but there seems to be no reason to. They're probably one of the most significant nations in Europe at this time. Taking a look here. Pomerania has insulted us. What on earth is all that about? Let's take a look here. They haven't even rivaled us, although we have rivaled them. Ally with Magdeburg. Now, Austria will not join them in the defensive alliance. I believe that's because they've insulted us, giving us the diplomatic cause belli. However, Bohemia would. That's a problem because Bohemia has 24,000 troops. Which is vastly superior to our own army. So we'll not use that. You see how far behind we are in technology. However, With the behind tech modifiers of 10%, we'll be saving about 50 monarch points for diplomatic and military technology, for a combined total of about 100. So you can see why that's effective. We save about 100 monarch points in all, purely by being efficient with when we upgrade our technology. Taking a look here. I'm not so sold on how they've changed the layout for these map modes. Used to be a combined interface, they've now divided it into 4 parts. Here's our state system. I think this is the first time I've looked at this. So we have our provinces there. Trade goods. I'm looking for economical map mode. Can't seem to find it, however. Right, when in doubt, give up. We'll have to look for that later. Meantime, we have 980 administrative power. We're close to 999 cap, so let's tech up. Let's start unlocking our first idea group. Now we could go for diplomatic. A lot of people opt for diplomatic idea group first. Gives them a lot of administrative power for coring. Most people agree you should never unlock a military idea group first because you'll be behind in your most essential technology. Me, I always go for administrative idea first. No surprises there, I would do so with every playthrough. And 9 times out of 10, it's humanist, so we'll unlock it. First idea group. 25% additional religious unity will not be of any value to us now, will be extremely helpful later on though. The 3 best idea groups in humanist are minus 10 years to separatism, 10% reduced idea cost, which is worth about 2,500 monarch points at least over the course of a game, and 50% easier cultural integration, which are 3 of the best ideas in all of the idea groups, which is exactly why I opt for humanist. And a new pope. Yeah, we're not going to be able to use this diplomatic insult. Cause belli. Or casus bellum or casus belli, depending on the Latin terms. Not really sure. Not too well versed in the old Latin. I think it is casus though, so I'll try and call it that in future, not causus. Although it is cause of war. This is its little English translation, I think. Again, don't quote me in Latin. Almost got those provinces cored. Probably not going to be able to get the 15% modifier for technology, so we'd be as well advised to tech up militarily now. We'll delay it for a little longer, see if we can get that 15%. Ban pilgrimage and superstitious practices. Lose 10 prestige, lose 10 devotion. I'm actually... I suppose we can take the prestige hit. It's just going to set us back further in completing our mission. Yeah, 50 prestige, so we're 53 points away. Probably worth cancelling it. Should we? The alternative missions are probably just as bad, though. We can build a building. Regulation of medical profession. I'm gonna choose... I think I'll choose... Well, let's see. What good will be produced? Naval supplies, which are low value, with low base production. Doesn't seem like additional goods produced is going to be a good idea. So since we're all for ploughing through that administrative idea group, we'll take all administrative monarch points we can, keep that as our national focus. We're closing towards our monarch point cap and diplomatic power, so we'll take that technology very shortly. We could alternatively delay diplomatic technology in favor of boosting our development. However, I think it's best getting modifiers to reduce development costs before we start getting too embroiled in improving development. So we'll just tech up. And our provinces are code. We will not add them to the Holy Roman Empire. We will check the unrest though. And we'll call for Reichsreform, which is reduced idea cost and technology cost. I see the princes are split currently. We need one more prince. Always a good idea getting the early imperial reforms, whether or not you're the emperor. It's the mid to late reforms that you want to oppose, because that of course erodes your autonomy, which is not something we're interested in. We're not eligible to be the emperor. I will have to read up my emperor mechanics because I can't quite recall why we're not eligible. Oh, it's probably because we're theocracy. We'll upgrade our military tech. We get the 10% reduced technology cost because we're behind. We're behind in tech. That saves us about 55 monarch points. Not going to complain at all. Be as efficient as possible with those monarch points. Always, always, always. I see Magdeburg would no longer join Pomerania in the defensive war, but Bohemia still would. And again, Bohemia's 24,000 troops. We could probably deal with them alone, but not with their reinforcements. In fact, we probably couldn't deal with Bohemia because we're still behind in military technology. We've lost an advisor, so let's replace him. Not great options. Fort defense is not what we want. Reinforcement speed is terrible. So let's see if we can fire these guys, get something a little better. Hopefully morale or discipline. That's what we're aiming for. Let's retire them. Will cost money, but we don't have any loans out. We're doing all right. Land maintenance and national manpower. So pretty bad. Not what we were hoping for. We don't need national manpower modifier boost, although that would increase the rate at which we regenerate manpower. We'll go with land maintenance modifier since at least that'll cut costs. Yeah, our advisors aren't looking too good at the moment. Ordinarily, I would always prefer reduced inflation for administrative advisor and increased trade efficiency for diplomatic advisor. That would of course give you the benefit of having the event, which gives you 200 additional monarch points, which can procure, I believe it's every 10 years. Have to read up on that, but it's an extremely powerful event. And we got Reichsreform. Reduce development costs, reduce build costs. See, now we would consider boosting our development. We want to stack up all those development cost modifiers before we start developing our provinces. Be as efficient as possible with our monarch points. Almost our max relations with Bohemia. Really want to fight Pomerania, but it's just not happening, folks. Not with Bohemia. You still got 24,000 troops just looming there. No idea how they have such powerful force limits. It must be really high development provinces, vastly superior to our own. And Brandenburg has declared war on Lüneburg. Not much we can do about that, I'm afraid. Not when Bohemia will join them in a defensive alliance. Brandenburg... They have a personal union over someone. How the heck did they get a personal union? Sadly, as a theocracy, I am debarred from entering into royal marriages. One of the reasons why allying with Austria to start was so difficult. Had we been able to royal marriage them straight off the bat, it would have been incredibly easy. Nonetheless, theocracy does have its advantages. It's certainly given us some decent leaders. We're not getting that mission completed, so let's elect to cancel it. Wave of obscurantism, national unrest or prestige. Well, we just cancelled a prestige mission. I have 2 recently called provinces that aren't part of our culture group, so we'll go with lose that additional prestige. Suffice to say, we're going to be seeking to avoid a war now. Given the fact that we're behind in technology, we have low prestige. We're just generally having a rough time in the military front. Always keeping an eye on Brandenburg and Pomerania, making sure that their alliances don't shift, which would allow us to attack them. We have low power projection, so I think that boosting our power projection is going to be a priority. At least we still have our alliance with Sweden. Denmark has been absolutely crippled. They're now at war with Sweden. Like we said, I was worried that Sweden would capitalise on Denmark's weakness, which we helped induce, and sure enough they have. We could have occupied some provinces like Skane, however. I don't want to increase the amount of frontiers we have with potential rivals. Keep our territory small and centralized, maximizing our ability to defend it. And the reason I took Gotland and Bornholm is because, of course, they're easily defensible, require an amphibious landing to attack. And given the fact that Austria, Poland, and Lithuania don't have any fleets, then they don't present any risk. And so they're easy to defend. Just taking another look at these interactions. Definitely it seems the most powerful one is that demand administrative support for an extra 100 administrative technology points or monarch points. I want to think about boosting our loyalty with the nobility shortly. We've got our second idea group. And since we prioritize that over administrative technology, I think I will unlock that. And get -2 national unrest. Nationwide, which is another huge idea group. Helps tremendously with rapidly expanding empires, considering the fact that we're also going to get -10 use separatism later on. Coupled together, they're extremely powerful. Exactly why I like the humanist idea group so much. New mission? Rival over rival. Improve relations with Bremen. Should be easily doable. But having improved papal relations is also a good alternative. So I think we'll opt for that one. Yeah, you can see how vastly far behind we are in military technology. That's going to be a huge problem. Just means we have to keep our wars small and quick. Double check Pomerania, make sure that their alliances haven't shifted. We've got that claim fabricated. But I'm loath to declare war on them while they have Bohemia as an ally. Still though, we'll get some claims fabricated. Too high taxes. This is a nasty event. I hate granting additional autonomy. And since unrest covers 2 of our non-occupied provinces, I think we'll just go with the unrest and manually increase autonomy in our newly occupied provinces. So we've got high unrest, but if we increase autonomy, that should drop 2.5. And we can probably deal with 5.5% unrest. Hate increasing autonomy. Always keep autonomy low as possible. And with having the humanist technology group, with all the net effects of reduced separatism, reduced unrest, that will allow us to keep autonomy low, even in newly occupied provinces. Alright folks, I think I'll put another card in here. As always, thanks for watching. And join me in the next episode.